The girl here just trying to configure my screen. Venus is here with us doing the live stream today as well. So hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I did contemplate whether or not to do this on my computer, but the camera is not very good. I've seen the footage after I've done the live stream, and it's not good. And also there's a bit of buffering, and I'm trying to work out what the best way is. Do I actually go and buy a new laptop? Do I buy better software? Because I have a good camera that I connected up to the streaming software, but I believe, as far as I'm concerned, some people are pointing out that there's still a latency. The voice is not clear, is what FA is saying in the comments. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I'm kind of at a loss which direction I go from with this. So thinking if I do my camera next time, I may have to buy a new laptop, and I really don't want to do that because I don't particularly want to support these big countries that are, basically running sweatshops in other countries, making these devices at a fraction of the cost with exploitive labor conditions, which I don't support at all. I don't know. I'm going to have to do something. When I see other people's live streams, they seem to have they have it worked out. And some list what they've done below, like what equipment they're using, but most people don't. So I think I'm going to have to try and work this out. If anyone has any tech advice, please let me know. But today, I'm using my phone, and I think it is better than my laptop that I've used, in the past. So what can we do? We're lucky we can be all live together. We're in this age where we're so spoiled with good quality and good sound, and I agree. That's kind of the standard now, and anything less than that, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. Whereas 50 years ago, we might be saying how good the quality is now with my video. I don't know. Anyway, that's can be left up for debate. So, people of Earth, wow, crazy times, wild times. We're on Earth here together, experiencing, living, enjoying. I first want to say a big thank you to my beautiful Patreons at my Patreon page. This is where I share a lot of my behind-the-scenes videos of, things that I do every day. I'm not posting every day, but, kind of like everyday life. And this is where I speak, personally with people that have questions, where I can actually post a video response or, kind of get a bit intimate and personal with people. Whereas, on YouTube, it's busy. It's busy on YouTube, and Patreon is where I can really open up and show my life, besides YouTube. So I want to say a big thank you to you guys. Thank you so much for your support. You can join for $1. So, I don't have any premium, huge, extreme prices on my Patreon. But it's where I get a chance to just, decompress, share everyday life if people are interested in how I'm running, the new Elnor and me out and about. I think the last one, or one of the last ones, I was out collecting seed. And Malaverse is saying, Andalara, I love you through the static. Oh my God, how is there static on this? This is my iPhone. I don't know how there is static. I'm so sorry, guys. How can I Oh my gosh. Have I got a mic? Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to see if I've got the mic with the right pipe. Oh, I don't think I have. Give me a second. No, I don't think I've got it. Oh no. It's a different mic. So maybe that's what I have to do. Nothing visual. Nothing visual? What does that mean? Oh my gosh, am I not here at all? Can anybody see me? I hope so, but this is the mic. But you see, this is how these massive corporations work. You buy an iPhone, and it's all well and good for a year or two, and then they start changing the ports, the jacks. And this used to fit the old iPhones, and now with these new ones, you've got that thin little piece. You know what? The next live stream I might actually try it on my old phone. So even though I can't use that phone, I can't call out or anything, something's wrong with the SIM, I may be able to YouTube still. It sounds like rain. Oh my gosh. Oh people, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Look, I'll be defeated today. I'll give it up to tech again, but this is the thing, technology, you feel that you are current when you buy something new, but then, within 6 months, you're out of date again. It's a bit like buying a car as well. This consumerist world we live in is just, you can't keep up. You can't keep up, and it's just continually like this. So, and although they will argue and say, oh, we're improving our devices and our technology, and okay, they are, but why not just keep the same model and the same ports? And they are, basically forcing you to have to buy other pieces and parts that are compatible with the new product. My God, why can't we just stick with the one? Could you imagine if they did it with electrical electrical sockets? If you can see that electrical socket up in the top here, in Australia, we have you have two socket openings, and then you have one down the middle. I know in America, I remember they were two straight lines down, and then they've got one down the bottom, right? Could you imagine if they updated those every 6 months? I mean, there would be a global riot. There'd be a global revolution. So, with these corporations, you can't get ahead with them because they are always 10 steps ahead. And what do you do? You do the best with what you've got. I've had a small lifetime of buying refurbished laptops. The one I've got now is refurbished, but even that is, it's cracking. It's cracking. Nothing lasts anymore. I remember as a kid, we had a computer. We had the big box, the big hardware box, and then you had the massive big screen. But those computers lasted my family for, I don't know, like maybe 10, 15 years. And, then we slowly upgraded to something else. But the turnaround with technology is at an unbelievable rate and speed, and it's all based on this consumerist model. More money, more profit, hitting those profit margins. It's unbelievable. But let's not sweat on that stuff. because I want to get into the theme of this. Obviously, we can diverge and digress back into that after, if people want to, because I think that's absolutely ties in with everything that I'm going to, share in this live stream. We are in the world. Those words have been spoken by several infamous ET beings that have been, that have been on our planet, basically. And, the point of sharing this is to allow people to start to open up their perceptions, to think a different way, to think a more galactic way, to think more about the prospect of living amongst other beings besides ourselves. And I'm not talking about, the animal kingdom, the insect kingdom. I'm talking about, obviously, other species that are either living on our planet and have been, perhaps even before we have. B, they are visiting and they are coming in, observing, potentially influencing. And C, how do we integrate? How do we integrate? Well, look, to cut a long story short, I actually believe the integration is already happening. And you could say that the integration has been obviously one of the biggest unsecret secrets. Because everything that is happening in our worlds, particularly with tech and the monetary system in general, is because of the ET influence. And to somebody that's new on this subject, it would seem absurd. It would seem absurd that ETs, these beings that have come in and influenced the human race, how is that absurd? Our human race has been continually upgraded throughout the ages. How would it be absurd that there would be beings that have been governing our existence forever? How would that be absurd? All this complicated religious doctrine that stipulates gods from the sky and angelics. The angelic race is completely different from the ET race. They're in a completely different level, dimension than ETs. But this is where the confusion in our religions has come about and originated from, because all of these ancient religions are all depicting lords of the stars, or these sky lords, these demigods, these gods that come down, and this is how perhaps they've been wanting to be remembered as these gods, because to tell them that they're an ET race from the Pleiades or from, Procyon, it's defeating the narrative, because as a progressive race, all it's going to do is create more confusion. It's going to, as if there isn't enough confusion as it is. And if you have researched a lot of the ET phenomenon like I have, not only having my own experiences, but also divulging into ET cases, and I'm particularly drawn to the older ones, because this is where there is less fabrication. Not that I'm saying that there is fabricated stories out there. Of course there are. 100% there are fabricated cases, but I'm more drawn to the older ones, because there wasn't the technology back then to make these huge elaborate stories. And basically, I allow my intuition to guide me with that. If I read about somebody's encounter, I, trust that intuition. about how I feel about it. You know, so, and that's sat with me. So anyway, this is a case that I go back to. This is a very old book. Can you see that I've actually put tape around the whole lot of this book because it is old, and I don't even think you can get this online anymore. But this is by Maurizio Cavallo, Beyond the Heavens, and although the translation is not the best, you get the gist of it. And he, I think, had his first encounter with these Star Lords, these beings from this planet or this star. I think it's the planet Clarion, and they came to him, and they have been following his lineage for years because they also connected with his mother. But he encountered this being, and it's a fascinating segment of the book. He encountered this man called Suell, Suell, and encountering him, he looked. Look, there is a picture. He took a Polaroid picture of Suell, and if you had not known that he was an ET, you would think that he is a regular man. We do not think that's a regular man on our planet just walking past you. I know I would, not unless I had the indication that he is somebody else. But I just want to read to you what he says. And he says here, Suell speaking, "Health to the earth. We are the children of Clarion, and we are in the world. Hear the voice of the stars, the throb of life in the universe. Discern the footprint of our footsteps in the dust of your planet." And he finishes with what I believe to be their language, Akui Akunse. So I would translate that by basically being peace be upon you, or peace be to, peace to you, basically. That's, although I don't have a translation, that's what I would pick that up as to be. And so within this fascinating segment of the book, they talk about, well, one particular woman in general. So what happens is, so on one of his encounters, he's given a black disc, like a little coaster disc, and when he touches it, it gives some kind of vibration, and it influences his thoughts. And he says this is what happens. So basically, he was told or influenced to go to a big Roman city. It is not mentioned in the book, but delving a little bit deeper, I spoke to someone that had direct connections with the person who, Paula, she's one of the main UFO, Paula Harris, she's a big name in ufology. Anyway, I spoke to someone that had direct connection with her and mentioned that the big city he went to was Rome. And at Rome, when he was there, he waited in a cafe for hours and hours, and he couldn't believe that they would keep him waiting for all these hours. What was the point of coming here? And he thought, oh, is this all in my mind? And as he was starting to coming down and in a tumbling, flood of thoughts, Suell knocks on the window and comes in the cafe. And the cafe was full of human beings. So could you imagine if they looked any different, any slight indication of any kind of difference or abnormality, a human being is naturally going to pick up on it. I mean, imagine if a reptilian walked into the bar. You're going to see it. So this is why they have this disguise in place. And although they may look like us, very much so, you can't tell me that they wouldn't have to, perhaps not the Clarion race, but reptilians for example, they have to change their appearance. And according to Lacerta from the Lacerta files, she talks of how they must, if they are deciding to integrate into the human culture of planet Earth, they have to change their appearance. They would never get away with looking the way that they do. But it's not that the reptilians change, their appearance. They are saying there is a switch within the human brain where they can manipulate this for us to believe we are seeing another human being, when in actual fact, what's in front of us is a reptilian. And so she did this when she had this encounter in Sweden with this gentleman that came out with the Lacerta files. He got really angry. I think he got quite pissed off that she could manipulate him to think that she looks a certain way, because when he first saw her, she looked like a young brunette woman, a human being. And then, I think she asked him, saying, would you like to see what I really look like? And she showed him, and I think he was frustrated by this. I can't remember, but he wasn't happy about it. So could you imagine how many of them are walking amongst us? Sewell is saying here, we are in the world. This is one race. This is one race. And one starman saying this. When we get into the myriad of civilizations that could be visiting our planet and living on our planet at any given moment, could you imagine how many there would be of them? And they say it right here. So what happens is he goes to Rome, and then Sewell meets him in the cafe, and then Sewell, he's got this old Ford and tells Maurizio to come with him for a drive because they're going out of town. So they're going out of Rome, and they end up going into the countryside. And he said even then, when we were leaving, there were so many oddities about the traffic. He said on such a busy highway, there should have been just hundreds and hundreds of cars. There were no cars. Then they parked the car, and they met with a police officer and he said he couldn't believe it, but they met with this police officer, like a motorcycle highway patrol officer, and they were talking outside, and there was no sound. So all the windows were down, there was no wind, and he said they were talking with each other behind the car, but he couldn't hear anything. So that was the first oddity. And then when they left, the police officer didn't have a motorbike, so he had the whole motorbike clothing, but he didn't have a bike. So there again shows you that this highway patrol officer was taking the disguise of, so the starman was taking the guise of a patrol officer in order to conceal his authentic, real identity. So they went across, they end up, walking across the land. The house was in the middle of nowhere in some cow pastures, rolling hills, and they went to this old house where these beings, 3 of them from Clarion, had set up their home. And he said they, not only did they look human, but they were extremely beautiful, very beautiful looking, and so kind, so welcoming. And they had food for him, and they were showing him, they had an underground greenhouse. So get that. They have an underground greenhouse where they were growing all their own produce, and produce that was just not even from this planet. And they had some kind of temporal configuration, some kind of archetype type of technology where they somehow inserted gene sequences into the fruits and vegetables to grow without the needing of sunlight. I don't even know. I can't even imagine how they do that, but this is the situation. So as they're sitting there, so the other being who looked just like Sewell. He said could have been mistaken for his twin brother. His name is Dahusha or Dahusha, Dhusha, and the other woman was Juela. And he said they were just both radiant. But Juela says here, basically, they had been on, this is what he says, they had been on Earth for almost 80 years. 80 years, and they looked young. When I showed my amazement, she said they had the possibility to change their identity, physical state, and nationality, but she did not want to go into more details. So they obviously had the ability to rejuvenate and regenerate their DNA. She's just hung on. I'll talk to her later. So they have the ability to not only rejuvenate their DNA, and I feel like I have a handle on how they do this. And I actually spoke about this in one of my Patreon videos, where they have the ability to repair the atomic structure of the DNA sequence before it dies. So, a cell has the cycle to the life and death cycle, and they can rejuvenate the life of the cell before it dies. So the ratio between life and death balances more towards the former, to the life, and the body can continually rejuvenate. So basically, when you can overcome that ratio to where the tipping point is more towards the rejuvenation of, the rejuvenation of your body cells, then you're not going to die out, you're not going to age, you're not going to wrinkle, you're not going to decompose, basically. And that is one thing we have not worked out to do on Earth. I believe we have. But this technology will not be revealed in the public sector. I believe everything that I've ever talked about in terms of teleportation, time travel, defying age, and basically reversing the symptoms of age are absolutely in our world. That our world is run by a bunch of beings that are wanting to control humanity, and that is the bottom line. All these, what I was talking about, this is where what I was talking about in the beginning, talking about Apple, all these big conglomerates, Amazon, eBay, oh my gosh, massive corporations. I can't even think of how many there are, but there are many. And they are all tied in together like a web. And they all come back to just a few big groups. And they, it's like a consolidated business with all these businesses running down them. And who runs these? And then who runs those people? It gets stranger and stranger. And I think now, though, people are knowing something is going on. And although there is a lot of seeming negativity and negative beings on the planet that are and have controlled humanity for a very long time, there are those, like from Clarion, that are influencing the world in a positive way, and they are wanting human beings to think another way. They are wanting them to think outside the box, think outside of the monetary system, think outside of the mainstream media, think outside of what you are shown, through these channels every day. Think a different way. Think a different way. Act a different way. Start to do what is not trending. and you only have to look at the telltale signs, small little things. I'm not so much on social media, I mean, obviously, except for YouTube. YouTube is different, though, from Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. I don't even have a TikTok account. I do have a Instagram. I'm not on there much. I do also have a Snapchat, but that's for personal use, and I barely use that because I look at something like Snapchat, and I was only looking at this the other night. So even though, if some of my overseas friends, especially in the Middle East, because Snapchat is massive in the Middle East, if some of my friends were not using Snapchat in the Middle East, I would probably not be using it. But because it's a convenient way, again, convenience, because it's a convenient way to keep in touch, this is the way that we keep in touch. But so besides getting their stories and, their pictures and whatever of, how things are going over there, I am seeing all these other feeds, these subscriptions and bullshit, basically, that I had not subscribed to. All these other stories. I remember when Snapchat first came out, it never had any of these stories, any of these other pages of people I've never even heard of before in my life. And now there's all these stories that are there to influence your mind. They want you to tap on it and for you to watch it. And as I observed the other night, the local gist of these stories is centered around money, how to make money. I have never seen anything on there talking about the beauty of nature, how we should be helping our planet, how we could clean up our own backyard. I've never seen anything in accordance with that idea ever on Snapchat. It's to do with money. How, stories about how to make money, or I make money this way, or I do this for a living, and a lot of distraction. There's so much confusion and distraction on Snapchat. And so when I listened to an interview by a fantastic person whose name is Jaron Lanier, he, was this Silicon Valley entrepreneur. He's a guy with, long red dreads, and a really beautiful person, very authentic, saying, stay away from social media. And you and I both know how that influences a person to think. Look at Instagram. It's a polished version of how people want to portray themselves. Not everybody, obviously, but, for the most part, because there are some positive aspects, there are positive things on there, but you've got to sift through all this other crap to get to the good stuff. It's this algorithmic process that modifies behavior. So you've got that world, then you've got this consumerist world, and and then obviously, from the pandemic, look at how the world basically, besides the indigenous populations that still live, in jungles or forests or whatever, so besides them, look at how the world was locked down. Look at how subservient humans were. Look at how they were coerced and compromised. I mean, unbelievable, wasn't it? Just crazy. So, and you just think, where does this all tie into? Who is pulling the strings? Back. More so, you've got these companies that are acting as a front, but there's people behind the scenes, and then there are either people or creatures or beings that are working with others. And it's happening everywhere. Like, there's so many people are having so many encounters, and I think people have always had encounters, but I think because of the use of technology, we can now share them. And and learn basically from other people's encounters. And if we've had our own, we can be like, oh, you know what? We've had similar experiences. And more often than not, many people have had so many similar experiences. So it really shows you the world we live in and how these massive big conglomerates, these massive companies, consumerist companies, have got a hold on us, because this technology is a gateway for us to connect to each other, or we depend on it for jobs, for livelihoods, for you know, for everything. And so it's very hard to pull away from these industries when this is, you know, I mean, it's not your only form or modality of existing, but life becomes very inconvenient when you don't have these in your life, right? So I don't have a TV. I've never invested in a TV. So my laptop is my only way, or my phone in this example, is the only way that I can channel out and connect with the rest of the world. So, you know, and it's convenient because it's small. I can fit it in my bag. I can take it wherever I go. The convenience has that critical element that is very hard to let go of once you have it. But isn't it a shame that it's at the expense of somebody else that has created it? You know, I'm talking about the exploitation of children, slavery, labor, you know, workshops. My God, I was just floored when, and see, I would never have known this without my laptop, but seeing these mines in the Congo, I mean, the Congo is just one of the most, oh my God, it's so infected with other cultures coming in and just taking their resources. It's one of the richest countries on the planet, and yet it's so poor. And I was just absolutely shocked at the amount of slavery, because it is basically slavery of children working in these cobalt mines. Unbelievable, you know, and some so young, hammering, you know, at these pile of rocks. I mean, the poor little arms are so muscular, and they have this band around this rock, and they're just hammering for this stuff that's, you know, like a raw ore called cobalt, which is used to manufacture these batteries of longevity, which are used in your laptop, in your cell phones, in electric cars. So, I mean, you know, here's people thinking they're being green and, oh, we're moving away from fossil fuels, but it's at the expense of somebody else. Almost every single item that we use or wear or have is at the expense of somebody else's work, somebody else's labor. Oh my gosh, I just think, how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this? And my gosh, it's very difficult, but this is how entwined all these systems are, and how connected they are to, you know, the off-world issue, the off-world topic. So there is this one big rule and one big condition for basically the benevolent ETs of, you know, a confederation saying they cannot interfere with a progressive race. Many of them have also said they cannot save us. There is nobody, they have said there is no one that is going to save you. You have to work this out on your own. So what do you do? What do you do? I think, if anything, if there was any good that come out of this scandemic, I actually think it's that people have a newfound appreciation for quality time and what they're willing to do with their time. And basically, they are putting in new conditions for how they spend their time. A lot of people are getting woke. There's this thing called quiet quitting, where people are not doing any more than what they have to with a chosen field or a chosen job, because they want to devote their time to more things that they enjoy in life. And in fact, another ET encounter happened in the 50s. A being from Mars by the name of Munker had actually went into great detail, stipulating a day for them, basically, in industry, because actually, and see, this information, it may seem so far out, but that just shows you how conditioned we are. So one of the main areas where massive big spaceships and spacecraft are made is actually at Mars. So there is a massive industry underground Mars. So all this bullshit talk about Elon Musk going to Mars and, we're going to be the only ones there, that is rubbish. Mars has been inhabited for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. Thousands of years. In fact, many of you probably have a Martian lineage. So all this crap about them saying, us going to Mars, and Hollywood has pushed this narrative by creating the movie The Martian, even though I love that movie. It's so incorrect with the real status quo of what's actually going on Mars. Mars is populated, Mars is inhabited, and there is a massive industry underground that makes spacecraft. But Munker goes on to mention and saying how a typical working day for a typical Martian is maximum 4 hours. Max 4 hours. Could you imagine going to work at 9 o'clock and then 9, 10, 11, 12, finishing by lunchtime? And then you've got all this free time for the rest of the day to do whatever you want. And he said even then, the work is mainly done by robotic devices or robots. So the people working there basically are just there to supervise. So, wouldn't that just be a dream? Don't be surprised that if in 50 years AI, which is really scary, could you imagine what it's going to be like in 50 years? And actually, speaking of Elon Musk, he believes people should be more scared of artificial intelligence more than nuclear weapons. He says because we have created this monster of AI, we don't know how to control it. This is what he says. He says AI is frightening. But I believe Elon Musk knows a lot more than what he speculates about. Surely someone in his position has the heads up about industry already on Mars. A lot of you know I co-authored Tony Rodriguez's book, and he goes on to stipulate how he spent his time on Mars. Andrew Basiago, one of the most well-known documented cases of time travel, speaks about Project Pegasus and his time in the teleportation program of being on Mars. So, and there are others that speak about their time on Mars, but Munker, this was in the 50s, so this was long before, this UFO movement that we've got here now, and this is when it wasn't savvy to be talking about this, to people. Back in the 50s, it would have been a very religious time to be alive. Any kind of talk about it might have been absolutely ostracized, and they didn't have all the wash that we have now of ufology and the talk of ET. It's just, we're so saturated with that. But he talks about the industry on Mars, and this information is timeless. Again, it's one of these books. This is an old book, and the information that Munker shares is in a book as well. But these books are for like $400, $500 online. I don't even know if this is in print anymore. I have no idea. I have no idea. I bought this back in 2008 or 2009. It was around this time. And I just feel so, 2008. I feel so lucky that I got it when I did, because it was available then. But now, you'll find that a lot of these great books, I mean, look, some of these books I've got here, like, I'm trying to grab it. This is one of Wendell Stevens's book. You know, one of the greatest UFO investigators of our time, and such a loss when he left the Earth. Look at this. This is with Will Herman's encounter that he had with some beings from Reticuli. And this was in the 70s, if I'm correct. Is it in the 70s? 1978. 22nd of January, 1978. So, and look, it's even signed. I actually got this book from eBay years ago, and what a treat to have Wendell personally sign this book. Oh my gosh. I touch that writing and just think, yeah, Wendell's been in this book. Oh, it's such a good feeling. So whoever Jim McCoy is, it says, to my friend and fellow researcher, Jim McCoy. So Jim McCoy must have owned this book, and now Andalera owns this book. So I love these old books because they are very hard to come by, and they're absolute gold. These older cases are absolute gold. And Wendell would not have published this book, or any book, if he thought it was not authentic. Why would he put his name behind it? So, you know, like, oh my gosh, for him to have left the earth is such a loss for us, because he was such a trove of knowledge and information. He's written some incredible books. And now books like this are so rare and hard to come by. So, you know, basically back to the theme of we are in the world. I think it's pretty clear, and I think we can be rest assured that we are not on our own, and that we have always been looked upon, we've always been looked at, we've always been observed, and we have to know that our entire existence has been one of conditioning, one of absolute control. Last night, before I went to bed, I watched a documentary. I'm very much into antiquity and history, and I watched a historical documentary on living in the Victorian era in Britain, like in the early 1800s. Oh my God. Oh, what a time to, I mean, if you were poor in those times, oh my God, I just think it would have been so hard. The jobs and the work that they had to do is just, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then again, the absolute control. Absolute control. So, you know, we have been controlled. We've had monarchies. We've had leaders. We've had these people in power, governing, having the power to choose for the masses, even though the masses haven't chose it. We've had these people in power for a very long time. Why? Why have we needed to have kings and queens and control? Why can't we have a few leaders? I mean, obviously, we're not in any space to have just a few leaders to represent our entire globe, spiritual leaders, and exist with open borders, no money, so having some kind of system where everybody has some kind of equal share. But then, you know, that would cancel out that consumerist condition that's in place now. You know, anybody having or experiencing money, you know, no one's going to want a Ferrari anymore, are they? If everybody's driving around a Ferrari, it's not going to make them feel special. It's not going to make them feel like they're in the exclusive club anymore. This is this consumerist industry, and I actually pointed this out on one of my videos, like on my Patreon page, saying how, I don't know how I came across it, but one of these marketing PR managers for like a high-end luxury brand said that they increased the price of their bag to keep it more exclusive, so common people could not afford it. And that's the only reason they did it. They raised the price just to keep it more exclusive. So, you know, they weren't even basing it on how much labor was involved, how much it took to actually produce the bag. They were simply raising the price to keep it exclusive. If that is not unfair and just so wrong, then I don't know what is. And so imagine having a world of equality and where no one is struggling financially because we don't have money. Imagine there was another system in place, like a credit system. I believe this is what's happening on Mars with their culture, is that they have a credit system. Nobody goes without. Everybody has their needs taken care of. And anyone that has significant education or people that are experienced in specific fields, I think it's recognized some way in their system, but nobody is unequal to, like nobody, like when they have their, Margaret Hughes says, I think I'll go to Pluto. You'd be surprised it's on Pluto as well, by the way. And when they have social gatherings, you wouldn't know who's who. So you wouldn't know if you're speaking to, like, I don't know, a space lord from Jupiter or somebody that governs the Council of Saturn. You know, they don't make it known that they're powerful or very knowledgeable or noble in any way. And I think that would be really screwy for us when we would visit. You know, we place so much importance and almost, you know, worship-like conditions on certain human beings on our planet because of who they are. But unfortunately, we're all, you know, kind of fucked up with that as well, because look at the people that we so-called worship or, you know, have our attention drawn to. These are celebrities, people that are just famous for being famous. I mean, honestly, like, I just think this is just hideous. We live in an age where everyone feels the need to want to be shown. Not everybody, but like everyone's entitled. And oh my God, it's sick. It's crazy. It's just nutty how our world has kind of moved towards. And I hope we kind of shift in a more harmonious direction. But right now, there needs to be some changes. But speaking of Pluto, Margaret, I bet you didn't know that, you know, Pluto, and maybe this is why it's been dissed from NASA, never a straight answer, is Pluto. And according to Monka, the spaceman from Mars that was talking about the industry, Pluto is one of the main trading hubs of this sector of space. So not just our solar system, this sector of space. So obviously we're in a quadrant. Our solar system is in some type of galactic quadrant. And for this sector of space, Pluto is one of the main trading hubs. And in fact, it's unbelievable. Do I actually even have the book here? I have the book. I'll read to you about Pluto. Now, I couldn't get this book online, so what do? I print the whole thing out, right? I couldn't find it. I don't know if I can actually find this portion of Pluto on here. Oh, actually, this is how the universe works. I have literally opened the page, and here it is, a solar tour. I'm going to tell you what they talk about, what Munka talks about. Is it Munka? Let me just correct myself if I'm wrong. Yes, it is. It's Munka. Okay, so this is the words of a space being, Munka from Mars, that has been channeled in the 50s, and this is what he says about Pluto. Listen carefully, Margaret. This could be you one day, honey. But now let us move out again and view the remaining planet left, the one you know as Pluto. The dazzling white glare of this one can be seen from a great distance and would seem to indicate the presence of perhaps a frigid world. But again, our eyes are deceived. For as we spiral inward, we notice that no frozen wastes greet our eyes, but instead mighty rolling dunes of bleached white sand. For my brothers and sisters of Earth, Pluto is an arid desert world. No native life is in evidence, but as we swing around this one's equator, we do notice the presence of man, and on a gigantic scale. For here are the great spaceports, the trade centers, the planet that is the hub of trade relations throughout this sector of the galaxy. The presence of large shelters, mammoth loading areas, huge ramps and expressways comes into sight as we glide along, and activity is vast beyond belief. We see the spacecraft from 100 different suns, from all the reaches of the galaxy, berthed in their cradles, and the unloading and loading of strange cargoes. Man here stands face to face with man from all parts of the galaxy. Sometimes they even stare at one another's exhibits of progress from these many worlds. I believe the women of your planet would never leave this place, aka Margaret, for we have noted their great curiosity when on excursions to procure goods. This is the heart of man's trade and exchange qualities. Pluto, a desolate planet devoid of native life, but tamed and converted to man's uses, a feat proclaiming man's eagerness to still utilize the light of creation. Now this goes on a little bit more, but this is actually very, very fascinating. Now since there is little of interest left here, let us move on and outward to a point several million miles beyond the orbit of Pluto. Here, a strange sight comes to our vision, for we see a huge platform in space, an artificially created world, a miniature planet. As we draw closer, we see a thriving metropolis, landing berths of tremendous size. Here, we see the mighty starships, too large to ever touch a planet's surface, are moored in space, their cargoes unloaded and ferried to Pluto by more conventional craft. Here also we see the legendary ships from the planets of the star known as Procyon. These craft represent technologies and evolutions of a most advanced form of man. An estimate of the age of these ones approaches what could be called in your terminology an age of over 50 billion years. I mean, is that not jaw-dropping? Craft of over 50 billion years? Who are these people from Procyon? Who are these star lords that have defied, they have defied the laws of, actually no, they haven't defied. They're probably actually working within the harmony of the laws of the universe. It's us. It's us and our kind on Earth that have defied the laws of the universe, because they talk about this energy that's available to everybody, this energy that is within everything of creation, and we can harness this and fuel and run everything we need from this. And I believe in the private sectors, this is what, they know this, they know this. They know about free energy, this universal energy. They would be using this for their deep spacecraft, deep space spacecrafts, basically. And this just shows you, coming back to the world, the consumerist world that we live in, this world is about control. And something interesting before I close to point out, when Tony Rodriguez was living on Ceres colony, he was a slave for 20 years on the Ceres colony. His book is phenomenal. I had the privilege of writing this book for more than 2.5 years. I have all the audio transcript that I was transcribing for him. And when he went into detail about being on Ceres, this planetoid in the asteroid belt, in the Kuiper belt, he talks of them learning a different history, a different galactic history, a different Earth history than what we have been taught here. And he said he remembers feeling very sorry, very sad that he had been taught a different way. And when he was down in one of these massive, mammoth hangars that they have their craft in, this faction, this offshoot faction from Nazi Germany, he said there was a flag of the Earth. It represented the Earth, and it was a planet Earth. So the logo of the flag was basically a planet Earth wrapped in chains with an eagle below the Earth. What does that symbolize? Symbolizes exactly the world we live in. But you as an individual can absolutely take back your own control, take back your own, ways of how you want to live, and create the life that you deem, suitable for your own, for your own self. You can absolutely decide how you want to live, how you want to manifest. You don't have to follow this narrative that everybody else is doing. And if people start giving you a hard time saying, oh my God, what's going on with you? Why are you changing so much? You're allowed to say, you know what? I've had enough of doing it their way. I'm going to live my way. I'm going to do what I want to do with my time. I'm going to manifest what I want to manifest in my life. You do not have to be subservient to somebody else's agenda. You don't. Not unless you believe you have to be. So, beautiful people of Earth, thank you so much for joining my live stream today. Thank you for your comments. I'm hoping I can press up here and see, what have I done? Okay. Oh, there's been a bunch on here, but I haven't really been able to see, okay. Well, it's going to take me a while to... I'm not going to go through all of them on here, but anyway, people of Earth, I must go out and manifest my dream now. I've had some plants turn up in the mail, some fruit trees actually. I've had some dragon fruit turn up. It's like a cactus. If you've never eaten the fruit, I suggest you go out to your local store, your fruit shop, and try a dragon fruit, because your life will never be the same again after. It's not on the same scale as durian, but it is very nice. So I'm going to go out and, work on my garden. I have over 30 fruit trees out in my garden, and I have done this since June. So this is absolutely critical. You must grow your own food. You must start to pull away from this consumerist. If you don't like this consumerist industry and the consumerist world, you must pull away. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to pull away. So I have planted, oh my God, I think I've got 6 orange trees. I've got about 5 lemon trees. I've got mulberry trees, I've got apple trees, I've got mandarin trees, I've got fig trees, I've got pomegranate trees, I've got a persimmon tree, I've got an avocado tree, I've got a nectarine tree, I've got a peach tree. Well, you know what, Malaveris, I'm living the dream, but it's still work, but it's passionate work. It's going towards where I want to go. And can you imagine from June until now, even though these trees, they're very small, they are very small, but I have fruit on them. The universe has already given me fruit, free food, food that is in, that will nurture me, that will take care of me. So this is how you pull away. And even though you live in the city, if you have your own place, there's nothing stopping you from growing tomatoes out in a balcony, or even in your apartment. You can do it. But if you don't like where you are, you need to leave. You need to leave, and only you can make that change. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to jump off the edge and see where your feet land. It may just be the best decision of your life. If you're in New York, go upstate. If you can go up to upstate New York and buy a cheap parcel of land. Believe me, you don't even need an acre. You could just have 50 square meters, have an allotment where you can just plant your own things. There is a fantastic documentary on YouTube by Happen Films. If you look it up, it's about, if you type into YouTube 25-year-old permaculture food forest, a New Zealand couple, they're called the Galtries or something like that. Oh my God, they're on, I think, 2 acres. It is like a Jurassic forest, and they have everything, and the forest is so self-sustaining. They said the more we stepped out of Mother Earth's way, the more it just looked after us. And so I feel that, and I get so inspired when I watch that and see that, and I just think, oh my God. Okay, they're in a different climate. They probably have a lot more rain than me, but you work according to your environment. See, I can grow a lot of things here that they probably can't grow. Stone fruit is in abundance here. Figs, oh my God, through the roof. Mulberries, trees can grow up to 3 or 4 meters high. Who doesn't love mulberries? Oh my God, fresh mulberries from a tree, and you have it all dribbling down your face. Oh, white mulberries, oh my gosh. Actually, a girlfriend has a huge white mulberry tree. And I just remember eating them for the first time at her place. The sweetness and the taste of them, I just thought, oh my God, this is the food of the gods. This is unbelievable. Because if you go to a supermarket and eat fruit that is in a commercial supermarket, you are getting let down. You are lucky to find something that tastes good. You won't, unless you go out to a farm or have picked fruit from a tree naturally, will you only taste how fruit is meant to taste. For example, apricots. My parents had a massive apricot tree when we grew up as kids, and the apricots were so big, so juicy, so sweet and gorgeous. Like, the taste is unbelievable. But if I actually bought a artificially colored looking apricot from one of our chains here. It's called Woolworths. I bought some apricots just as a test in summertime. I had mine at home, and then I bought some from Woolworths. So although the Woolworths ones looked good, they were so bright and orange, these, like the ones from the tree, they were still orange, but they had a couple of spots on them, and oh my God. The ones from Woolworths tasted just like squishy ash or paper in your mouth. They were horrendously bad. No wonder people don't want to eat fruit. No wonder it's awful from the store. But, then biting into one from a tree that has been grown and been in the sun and been in the weather for over a year, it's been nurtured by Mother Earth. Oh my God, people, you have got to give yourself that luxury of trying this fresh fruit. Because this is the real luxury in the world. Fresh, beautiful, naturally grown fruit and produce is the real luxury. Market fruit, if you look, you live in New York, some of you, if you're there, treat yourself to go into a market, farmer's market. There must be some in New York City. You would have everything in New York, so treat yourself to some farmer market foods if you can. And I do believe that they'd be affordable, some of them anyway, because at the end of their market, they'd want to get rid of, their produce basically, because there's no use taking back, produce that isn't going to keep. So, yeah, so go to a market stand or something, or better, grow your own. And so even though my investment is not going to be particularly returned to me for the next few years, I'm already getting a return now. The universe is just already showing me what she can do for me. I have nectarines on this tiny little nectarine tree. I have this 4-grafted stone fruit tree. I have peaches on there. I have fruit on every branch of that tree. And I only planted it in June. I literally ordered it online. The poor old tree came in the mail. I planted it straight away that morning, and now I've got fruit. So, all I have to do is just keep watering. All I have to do is water. And I hardly think that is hard work. I've done the hard work. So if this inspires you to move or to have a change of your own life, go upstate or go downstate or move somewhere where it's within your means, where you can afford to have a good life, or if it means leaving the US, leave. Go to Mexico. I know a lot of people that used to live in America actually have a very better quality of life living down in the Latin countries of America. You might go to El Salvador, go to Guatemala, Mexico, wherever. Be good to yourself and allow yourself to have that luxury of life, having good clean water, beautiful produce, growing your own foods. This is the ultimate luxury, not fucking handbags, flash cars. This is a facade. Don't fall for it. And you can see so many people are falling for this facade like it's something, everybody should strive for. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. This isn't the real luxury in life. And I would, when I have been in these luxury vehicles, and I know when I sat in them, I felt like such a dickhead. I felt like I was embarrassed to be seen in these cars, because all they do is draw attention. They draw attention, and anybody else looking at you from a different car, it makes people feel inferior. Not everybody. Some people are fascinated. Some people are like, wow, taking pictures of this, but most people feel inferior. It makes them reflect and question their own lives and what decisions they've made wrong to end up where they are financially in their life. So this separation that money has created within our cultures is so indicative of an incorrect system in place. It's embarrassing, I think, and this is what I mean. Instagram is all of that, and Snapchat. Oh my God, some of the story things. You see, I see a lot of Arab ones, so I just think the way that some people flaunt this fake wealth, because it's not real, money's not real, even though they have these things, it's not satiating their heart. how silly are you going to feel when you park your big red Ferrari next to, let's just say you go to the Congo, you park your big flash Ferrari in front of all these children that can barely even get clean drinking water or can barely eat. They have nothing. You're going to feel like the biggest prat ever. You're going to just, if that was me, I mean, first of all, that would never ever be me, but I'd want to burn that fucking car. I'd feel so disgusted with myself for feeling like I'm so entitled to, like I'm different than, or that I'm better than somebody else. That's got to be the most shameful, embarrassing feeling ever. Oh my gosh. So all that is doing is creating a separateness. And it really is. And you know yourself, with people with money, it makes people feel invisible. Makes them feel superior. Makes them feel, it gives them a pass to treat people in a certain way. I have seen that firsthand. Oh my God. I have seen that firsthand. I've written about that. Oh my gosh, it gives people a pass to treat people and humankind in a certain way. And it sucks. It's so shitty. It's such an immodest, demoralizing way to live. But, many people live like that and are so blindsided to everything else. So, anyway, on that note, I'm going to go out in my garden. Venus has been waiting for me all morning so patiently. She's been in here grooming, waiting for me to finish so we can go out in the garden together. So everybody, oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. It's been such a pleasure to come to you again. And wherever you are in the world, make it happen for yourself. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of, tweaking your vibration and moving in a direction that is more conducive to your authentic self. Don't be afraid of that. People of Earth, I love you so much. And may you always be blessed by the supreme truth and love of the cosmos. Know who you are. I love you guys.